Notes to start Liquid Sky Revisited, a documentary with the director. I've got a clip at 11 minutes. The Movie Club movies. Tonight's feature, Liquid Sky, 1982. Recently browsing, I was suggested a music video. I had a sense of seeing this before from a band again new to me. 2015 Papoose. They are based from France. They have good music, garage tropical indie dive bar sound, if you can follow me on that. They will have a handsome girl in their vids, and Anna Wants to Dance, that's the title of a song, has model actress Sasha Melanichuk, who could match the look of Anne Carlisle, actress from tonight's movie. I had seen a fashion mag from Bulgaria modeling with a sporty look these paint swooshes all around her body and limbs, much in the style of tonight's movie. Sasha Melanichuk also was in a movie after this video, 2016 Blood Surf with James Franco. A brief summary from the sauna. A shy tattoo artist must infiltrate a notorious gang of surf witches to discover what happened to her missing brother. Nina Legti, a female filmmaker, directed music videos from Phoebe Bridges' award-winning Kyoto, among others. Papoose, a band worth a listen or watch. Missing Persons. Dale Bozzio recorded an album with Prince label and posed for Playboy. She is the lead singer of Missing Persons. Their most iconic album, filled with hits, has an album cover with a painted makeup swoosh on Dale Bozzio in a sort of dramatic portrait. If you haven't checked that album out, or any of their hits, I do suggest it. When I was a tiny little kid listening to the radio, I actually was annoyed by their music. I felt it was, even as a little kid, super sugary pop. But now I see it's got some dynamic electric guitar and rock vibe, as opposed to a full-on pop act. Dale Bozzio, also a very interesting personality. I watched an interview where she gave details of her early career before even that hit record. And it's very interesting. 1982, band Missing Persons, the album Spring Sessions M, a swash across the eye of a visage blonde, the contemporary woman with rock and roll energy on the cover. In conversation with my contemporaries this week, movies leading into the weekend of movies. I was working on producing these podcasts, so I knew I needed to watch a few for the upcoming episodes. At the same time, I needed to take some notes here and there or check in on some suggestions. A classic episode started with White of the Eye. A really great content maker, Cathod, had a movie marathon where I saw for the first time a movie called Unmasked 25. The summary, a lonely serial killer who is really beginning to question the point of all his killing. He is losing focus on why he started to kill in the first place. The future looks bleak until he meets a blind girl, Shelley. Rewatched the movie Brother from Another Planet, which led me to rewatching Liquid Sky for the podcast. Mean Season with Kurt Russell. Metropolis, the iconic movie from the 1930s. And Cyclops, 1987. Is there a list of movies I could suggest that are similar or deal with the subject matter in similar ways? Here are a few. Just One of the Guys, Dark Angel, I Come in Peace, covered by ABZ. Hey Babe, starring Yasmin Bleeth in an early career. She has a club punk styled makeup. Just One of the Guys, and I just saw a really big VHS tape of this with a very well done cover of the poster. Anyways, celebrating the art form of VHS. Nick Cage and Vampire's Kiss, the mimes are a point of reference for the Hollow production. A book about the raw punk scene of the time, just as New York dolls make it big and the city is lousy with characters. Just like our story tonight, and also some really brilliant minds that are not completely wrapped up in drugs as much as our scenesters here. And that happens. There are funky characters, and there are leeches and partners, as well as brilliant creative people doing good things, but that may be more into the party side, rather than the functioning movement or expression, that by the optic of history show brilliance, becoming accepted and successful, not in that order, but that the drug use may limit or shorten the history of others. Also, this time period is on the verge of an ignore epidemic sweeping the coasts and reaching middle America. The AIDS virus will hit clubs and creative scenes hard, as well as medical facilities and general public, while political leaders kept the scandalous reputation for the outbreak and false panic, as well as very little action when needed. The book Please Kill Me, the art scenes includes Keith Haring, Jean-Michel Basquiat, Martin Wong, Lee Bowery, Bill Cunningham, New York Times, fashion photog. I do recommend his doc, Bill Cunningham, New York, 2010. Patti Smith, Beastie Boys, Ricky Powell, Madonna, Debbie Harry, Rosie Perez, Richard Hell, Dead Boys, Sonic Youth, Tom Tom Club, MF Doom, Dondi, Scene, Graffiti Artists, Breakers, Kool Herc, Empire Skate Cruise, comedians like Sandra Bernard, Julie Brown, and notable creative personality Rocket's Red Glare. Rocket's Red Glare was an American character actor and stand-up comedian, as well as his career as an entertainer. He worked as a roadie for a band called The Hassles with a young Billy Joel, and as a bodyguard and drug supplier to punk rock bassist Sid Vicious and artist-musician Jean-Michel Basquiat from Letterhead. From Letterboxd. His list of movies. Rocket's Red Glare was in Basquiat, 1996, In the Spirit, 1990, Talk Radio, 1988, Big, 1988, Shakedown, 1988, Down by Law, 1986, After Hours, 1984, Desperate Seeking Susan, Stranger Than Paradise, and many Alexandre Rockwell films. Rooftops, 1989. The synopsis. It's the only place to be. T, as most of his friends, lives in a self-constructed house built on top of an old building in the city. Their one passion is combat. Combat is a dance street fight during which the contestants try to pull each other or push each other out of the arena, while not allowed to actually touch each other. When drug dealers move into the neighborhood and kill T's best friend, he embarks on a mission to eradicate the drug presence in his neighborhood. His friends are reluctant to help, though, knowing what happened to T's friend when he crossed them. Artists running around the city at this time, and there is so much creativity going on, and a movie like Taxi Driver and My Demon Lover depict the garbage strikes leaving the city to look like a contemporary wasteland, subject of unwanted NYC imagery and impressions for years. The movie is the anti-pop song. It's an anti-romantic comedy. It's an anti-romantic comedy. This movie is an anti-pop song. This movie is an anti-romantic comedy. It's a raw expression. It conforms to nothing and is a shard of the punk spectrum. It is a raw expression. It conforms to nothing and is a shard of the punk spectrum. As any nutflex Nick Jr. doc can be, it is a telescope into youth culture of a certain time. NYC, 1980 to 1983.
1982.
Liquid Sky, 1982. Z Films Incorporated. Rating is R. Not available at any library. It should be. You're a fool not to put this into a library and just have it under check ID. Stunts. Melissa Dedman. Sal Dinnerstein, Jeff Most. Editors: Sharon L. Ross, who worked on Face of Evil 1996, Sleepaway Camp, Halloween Town 2, and SlavaTsukerman, the director, writer, composer for Liquid Sky. Director: SlavaTsukerman. Writers: SlavaTsukerman. Anne Carlisle, Nina V. Korova as designer somewhere in this movie. Anne Carlisle as Margaret and Jimmy, Desperately Seeking Susan and Crocodile Dundee. Paula E. Sheppard as Adrian, famous for Alice, Sweet Alice 1979. My theory is she has a cute face and Creeps wanted more from her career. She dug into more features. She does test well. And after this intense movie, she moved on to a family life, away from the public. No judgment here. Just looking into a singled out work, and she's wearing a headband committedly, almost as a disguise. Yet she was like on this Alice, Sweet Alice, and I think she got really famous. Kind of, obviously she's a very pretty face, and I think people wanted her to do much more. I think maybe she just couldn't balance talent and availability for these projects, just didn't get a bunch, and maybe what she did get really creeped her out. This is a very intense movie not to have done much more. It's not like she went on to work with Scorsese or Soderbergh or De Palma or even be in Playboy or something. She just did this movie, Alice, Sweet Alice, and even more like made-for-TV movies, which says a lot for a career. And that's fine, but it is really a point of wearing a headband committedly, almost as a disguise. Bob Brady as Owen. Susan Doukas as Sylvia. Slow Dancing in the Big City, 1978. The Prowler, 1981. No Telling, 1990, directed by Larry Fessenden. And look him up. If you like, he has some select horror features. Blackout, 2023. Isolation, 2021. Wendigo, 2001. Depraved, 2019. Return of the Ghoul Log. Those last three are on Shudder. Elaine C. Grove as Catherine. Stanley Knapp as Paul. Jack Adelist as Vincent. Otto van Warnher as Johann. He was in The Package, 1989, with Gene Hackman. Perfect Strangers, 1984. Larry Cohen movie, also with Anne Carlisle. And if you watch the director's documentary, he's nowhere to be found. Roy MacArthur as Jack, blonde. After Liquid Sky, he did Lurkers, 1988, Rejuvenator, 88, Primeval, 88, Escape from Safe Haven, 88, and Posed for Murder, 1989. Anne Carlisle as Margaret and Jimmy. She's from movies we already covered. Desperately Seeking Susan with Madonna, Aidan Quinn, Crocodile Dundee. And that brings me to how I came upon this movie and a little bit about Anne Carlisle, of course. So I mentioned about a documentary, Liquid Sky Revisited. I'm going to keep saying I do recommend watching that. It filled us in on a lot about this actress, entertainer, creator. She was a very imaginative young person, a creator and artistic personality from a young age. She grew up and became a dancer, model, artist, just busting at the seams of creativity, and I really can relate to that. She moved on to college and then to New York City club scene, and once she got to the New York City club scene, everything just really started happening for her, and she really became obsessed and worked really hard at dancing, becoming a part of the club culture and the creative side. She just enjoyed anyone that was around her that was being creative, and that's a part of why she was drawn there in the first place. I again 200% can relate. Continuing, some of the info given about her characters in this movie is actually she was pulling from her own personal history, along with some of the imagery of her actual photos. She also is an LGBTQ plus supporter She's already an icon with the cult following of this movie, and myself included. Seeing her character, seeing her create a character, or include her own personal is really fascinating. It's magnetic. I enjoy those things. Her being a success as a model, dancer, she's incredibly attractive, incredibly fit. Although there is drug culture, a key word is community. Her community can be shown in this movie, and this movie is reflecting what she was seeing as far as movies can show us. I found all that info interesting, and I can only point us back to that documentary. I think I keep mentioning it in the most recent episodes. I really enjoy the movie Crocodile Dundee. It was something as a kid I was able to rent, or the family was renting, so I really enjoy rewatching that movie. There is definitely some questionable revisiting offensive things is not what I'd like to celebrate here, but recognizing the importance of improving and progressing our thoughts after seeing characters portrayed in 80s movies. I'm focusing on 80s, 90s here, so of course the history of cinema has had issues with all things valuable and sensitive to us as humans. But let me just focus on what Anne Carlisle and some aspects of these things. Crocodile Dundee may have not done a great job at it. The individual in this movie, Crocodile Dundee, who is supposedly a person of transgender description or what have you, I know that I could use the word coded. I've been separated from my friends and community myself, and I do not have these incredible conversations any longer with people I find legitimate, incredible. Don't dive into internet conversations about these things. And intention for my own education and progress and celebration of what's good. Anne Carlisle played this individual in the movie of Crocodile Dundee, who was on the edge of transgender and those labels at the time of that movie. Although this character is played for comedy and all of this, I just wondered as an adult, who was that actor, actress, that professional playing that individual? It's Anne Carlisle.
Anne Carlisle. Anne Carlisle. Anne Carlisle.
Also, Anne Carlisle has such an iconic look in the movie Liquid Sky. I had seen the image of Anne Carlisle in Liquid Sky as a singular image of her portrait with the makeup. I always related it to Daryl Hannah in the original Blade Runner. I didn't understand what the internet imagery was giving me. Is that a still of Blade Runner? You may not remember, the internet wasn't always that great. And you could say, hello, what is this image from? And the internet may not know that information. The other thing is, I didn't go that deep on the internet until very recently. The Movie Club Movies podcast and other podcasts requires a lot of research and creative input. And I continue to find crazy adventures from a movie listing of crew and cast of sorts. Anne Carlisle is one of these originators, figuring out that that still is from this movie and that this movie is far from available in, let's say, 1998 or 2008 or 2011, such as times have changed and availability is out there and the understanding, but there are so many creators influenced by movies and characters such as this that they do come out, and Vinegar Syndrome and suppliers such as this are able to thankfully put them out. And that's where I started to understand. I started to see the imagery of her character. In closing, Anne Carlisle is a great creative, giving a genuine and great creative effort in this movie. I can say about a lot of her cast and crew are giving very much good efforts, but Anne Carlisle, there's definitely something about her, and if you at least some clips maybe of her parts of the documentary, you will definitely see and connect that this person is a creative at heart, and I think that's genuinely what I'm going to celebrate, especially at some of the problematic areas of this movie. TMCMS is a supporter of LGBTQ plus growing up with VHS era, and we know that there needs a change with representation. Improved representation, but more importantly, contain all types of people. LGBTQ plus community, among other progressive entities. TMCMS is an ally. Let's carry on, because it is an exciting movie, and I just can't wait to share it all with you. With every episode is another step in this journey of podcasts for TMCMS, and I'm really stoked and excited to share with you tonight's movie, Liquid Sky, 1982. I welcome everybody to take the next step and listen to this episode. Follow along as I give you the deets. Ready? Let's go. TMCMS Podcast, the Movie Club Movies Podcast. Tonight's feature, Liquid Sky, 1982, featuring Carlisle. Liquid Sky, 1982. The Movie Club Movies Podcast. Something I've been thinking about since our update episode, answering the past Justin question about current status with the podcast and my findings and successes throughout, was that movies have some really great soundtracks, and that's definitely an ingredient to a really good movie pick. Is a really good movie club pick is a good soundtrack to the movie, issued or unissued. And we talked about our CD wallets of past soundtracks, and those are included too, but these like 1983, 1986 soundtracks get really, really interesting. And of course, if you don't know about Tangerine Dream, check them out. Harold Faltermeyer, check them out. And so many scores, orchestra leaders, composers are out there to check out with movie soundtracks. And movies like Neverending Story, Thief, Running Man, Total Recall, Mike's Murder, Lost Boys, Sorcerer, The Keep, Night of the Comet, Valley Girl are really fun and representative of the movies I like to cover. And tonight's episode is no stranger to a great soundtrack, a unique soundtrack. I also want to point out a couple references being made throughout this movie. Recap. First, the band, 1982's Missing Persons, they made an album called Spring Sessions M. That album cover has a paint swash across a visage blonde, a contemporary woman with rock and roll energy on the cover. I also reference a small documentary mentioned, The Liquid Sky Revisited. I have a link in the podcast notes. Okay, continuing with the recording with our new mic. Our movie tonight has many shots of NYC from the time afar as transitions, and we start with some of the music worth noting and the NYC skyline with a nicely painted in UFO. Not too large and just zooming through the skyline of the city, simply. And it lands on the roof above an apartment. It's this painted silver as it looks in the sky. This is where most of our story takes place, in this apartment,
and it houses some of our most colorful personalities. The UFO at some point makes itself known to the viewer, and we get a psychedelic lava predator heat vision of the apartment through the window. And this color kaleidoscope is focused on a center mask face, one of those creepy porcelain face masks, and this one is porcelain white. Lines that begin the movie. Hey, I need some stuff. You got any money? No, I will tomorrow. Anne Carlisle as Jimmy is asking Paula E. Sheppard as Adrian, lead drug dealer and performing artist. She wears a headband and is shorter than the other actors, but when we first see her, she has her hand up over her head to one side, causing an additional confidence and social stature. She coughs back to Jimmy. You got any money, babe? I don't want to even think about it tomorrow. I'm performing tonight. Jimmy goes to Margaret's and asks to go back to her place. Margaret. Right now? With you? Jimmy. Sure. Our first shot of Margaret is that she has an expression of elation. She's like genuinely happy he's asking her. Maybe getting his attention? I don't know. Really, she could be like, why? Everyone we know is here, but I don't know. Back at Margaret's apartment, which she shares with Adrian, Margaret is dancing. Jimmy is fidgeting and looking through drawers. His motives are not hidden, but Adrian's junk is. Margaret is dancing, really personally, like she's not in need of a partner. And this whole movie is an artistic counterculture, so the families of fashion and punk are square dancing all over. That's fine with me because I find Margaret interesting and attractive, and I like the way she's dancing. Jimmy is asking where Adrian is, keeping the drugs. Margaret replies smartly, Don't even ask me about that. Jimmy states he doesn't usually fuck girls. Margaret mentions she prefers women to men anyways. Adrian has started her performance, which is a bummer because Jimmy, with an addiction motivations, took her away from the social thing. Adrian's performance at a club or like an indie bar. Pretty cool, but also like funny to see separated from the era. Jimmy is trying, and I mean, here, let me say, it's funny that there are these like performance clubs in 80s movies, like either like the Sheila E. type performance in Tango and Cash, or the whole movie of Streets of Fire. It's funny to see separated from the era. Jimmy is trying on Adrian's clothes, which was making me giggle just because he's tweaking, being a real loser, just going through her stuff. And he's even wearing it as if he's going to leave in it. I guess it's kind of cute, but knowing that Jimmy is in a bad place, most likely untrustworthy during this addict era, touching or taking other people's items is unwanted, but it's the movie and I'm kind of laughing at these hipsters. Adrian has started her performance, which is her dressed neatly in a purple bodycon dress, or I think a really flowy sweatpants and kinda items. Basic comfort dark colors with like fashion cuts. And she has some wires hooked up to a mic, and she's got what looks like an amplified boombox. Maybe modified by Cable Guy Paul? She starts rocking with her heartbeat, and she has some poetic chant rap about her rhythm box. I mean, like, this song is badass. She asks, are you jealous? Jimmy asks, are you gonna take a cab? However, this is after Jimmy clears a wall and Adrian's looking for her junk, which we're seeing intercut with this performance. Margaret was alarmed at first and now looks to be defending away from Jimmy with a door closed. So it's getting actually like the bad energy is sort of being taken up a notch, but it's being intercut with this performance. Jimmy is a dick and Margaret is no stranger to danger. Similar to Diner's daughter in White of the Eye, Adrian's performance continues. It is pre-programmed. So what? So what? So what? It's pre-programmed. So what? So what? So what? Who are the movie club? Who are the movie club? I'll tell you who. Only Laughing, this is when your dealer is also everyone's favorite band, but in reality, she is ahead of the times because 2 Chainz and Van Morrison were both dope dealers while singing. Okay, we move further into the movie with one of my first impressions. Blonde hair populates this movie because we not only drop in on a backstage, but we get one of many blonde-haired characters. This must be a manager to Margaret. She is getting her makeup done around another glammed-up woman and performers and models. The makeup artist, also blonde, says this person should not be in here, and he is only informing Margaret that they are coming over to Margaret's tomorrow. Her roof is great, and you are even better. And sounding like Wallace and Gromit, this man says to Jimmy, "It'll be nice to see ya." Jimmy's response is like a teenager in a No to Drugs commercial. I don't know. He's really like timid and mumbly. It's really wild. Only Laughing at the VHSness of everything. Jimmy is so well done and awkward. For me, he really sits back into the frame as a natural character. He's just odd at it. And yeah, there is this VHS film on everything, so even him mumbling and the ADR technology that they used is just really muffled. It's great. It's great for this movie. This guy likes Jimmy's photographs, and some could go into a midnight magazine. Jimmy, what kind of drugs do you have? Okay, we have to clean up these streets of 1982. Adrian with her rhythm box. And now we are visiting another character, another drug user. He's calling Liquid Sky the key to heaven. Hey, Prince is the key to heaven. And his wife is getting a clean glass. We can quickly put together another demographic than our hipster crew. His wife is concerned and wishes him to not do the drug. He's loading up. Should I say spoiler alert if drug use makes you anxious? Spoiler alert if drug use makes you anxious? Back with Margaret, her fashion show director or stage director is ready to start the show. Margaret is also ready and she has her looks on fleek. Striking, she's fierce, she's all that. Our horse husband, horse hubby, rubby hubby, shout out to the TMCMS house band, rubber husband. But this guy is giving us those wiki search facts above the drug, about the drug, being in most every drugstore, and housewives would put it in their colon clearing colas. He is being such a dickhead right now, and it's really annoying, but it's also like, I'm glad they're putting a little bit of realism, like, these are drugs, these are dangerous things, and this fella a part of it, but he just is not in this scene. It's interesting. In this Scenesters scene, he's like a straight guy or square daddy-o. I don't know how else to put it. It's really interesting texture again to this movie. Hard to explain in text. This guy looks the furthest from being creative, especially in 82. This guy is more likely to be painting small toy soldiers, pewter soldiers, than mixing new wave with Aerosmith. Is that called New Jersey Scarvecore? Dennis Miller looks more like the lead singer for Sushi and the Banshees than this Lucky Charms. Okay, bubby? Everyone wants euphoria. What's wrong with that? He's firing up a spoon. And his honey of a smart wife says sternly, I am not a housewife at the turn of the century. I do not want
heroin in my house.
She says this.
In my house. In my house.
The fashion show is full on. Diane Carlisle is killing it, managing character and modeling. And this all has to be improv injected energy. Plus she's working on an outfit and we are getting 82 battle vibes. This is before a new wave of subway cars came through and the turf is worth the fight. Margaret is a beastie and feral. Adrian looks on, like she likes what she sees. And she's got a dealer swagger to the side. It's a large circle of fashion showers, and our heroine is Bumblebee wiggling as if Queen of the Hive, wiggle, Margaret, wiggle. As she hits her pose peak, I'm not joking, this is really happening. Check this movie out, check this scene out. We see her, and we see her hubby user mentioning the drug opens up his creative output. Like, I wrote, cocktail. Maybe he's talking about the philosopher at that moment. And this sounds like sublime more than euphoria. His wife agrees and stops his bad cred with the true statement of anyone with real steel. Cocteau was Cocteau before the drugs. She is right, and I just want to mention she is doing well, and thank you for the dope nose facts. She has a similar acting tone to the wife of Peter Weller's character in Shakedown. Their scenes mostly take place in a kitchen, so the lighting is also flickering in my references. Ref. Back with the married couple, she has made a solid statement about not using drugs to better your creativity for an excuse. And her dude is going through the motions of getting his belt to tie him off and wanting her to help. She smartly plays along and smacks the needle away at first chance. She immediately says, "I did it because I love you." And this is a well-rehearsed scene. I'm not joking. This scene seems surreal and intentional and dangerous and real and intentional. Her husband has grasped her. Margaret and Adrian are in the bathroom of the club, which has an industrial red door, 'cause don't they all? And all the walls are thick with graffiti, so smudgy in fact that it looks cavernous, and most sleaze joint dive clubs are. This looked like Jabba's Rancor dungeon below Jabba Hut. In the bathroom, Jimmy is taking a leak. Adrian is right there with him, and Margaret is in the doorway behind Adrian. In the doorway. Jimmy is still repeating, he wants stuff. Money tomorrow. Adrian, again with a smile this time. Okay, tomorrow. And Margaret looks pretty, laughing in on all this muck. Jimmy threatens to rat Adrian out, which that's going to get you blocked, unfriended.
Not an 82, just.
Marge happily relays that Jimmy was wrecking her apartment looking for Adrian's stash, and she mentions maybe Jimmy won't get any tomorrow. Adrian, I have enough clients. I just want to add my note's sake. She says this kind of quasi-Latino and is odd, but she could also be drunk. I'm sure they're trying to paint this character as like street savvy. Adrian adds, hey Margaret, wanna snort some skag? Just lines after lines of the movie, 15 minutes. Here I just was adding that I Come in Peace, Dark Angel, that movie deals with a set of villainous aliens who are looking for, I think, as energy to power things on their planet, so to say. And here, the aliens, the UFO, wants for similar reasons. Jimmy is to the side. I hate you ugly chicken. Marty McFly is freaking the fuck out. A guy on the dance floor is asking girls if they want to do coke. And that is what Margaret is wanting to do. So we see her shimmy in the middle of the dance floor. And I'm thinking like late 90s New York hip-hop music videos were ripping off these shakedowns Marge is doing. She catches another dummy dude who asks her about doing drugs. She struts her stuff back to his place. This guy is trouble. Spoiler alert. 17 minutes. Caution. Caution. For inappropriate dramatic interactions. Margaret asks, where's the cocaine? Her terrible choice of dates is a predator and He does this by offering her quaaludes. And I want to give Margaret credit. She is courageous and gutsy. She is putting up a defense immediately and has her bragging over tolerance for downers. She's done more than he's done aspirin, and she can do harder stuff anytime she wants. This is all unhealthy, but when fighting a bear, look big, and this asshole forces quaaludes on her. Disgusting. This is violent. This is raw, aggressive filmmaking. Whoa. This is raw, aggressive filmmaking about teenage-um, bar-hopping culture, big social culture, anywhere USA, but also female-targeted and could happen to anyone. And this movie is showing what 99% of movies do not. I could reference 2020 Promising Young Woman. This is the difficult stuff, guys. This movie is incredible for its depiction of these actual things that do happen. Date rape and sexual assault when you're out socializing at clubs, bars, on and on and on, even at house parties, on and on and on and on and on. I'm not telling you anything you do not know. And in 1983 or so, this movie is raw for doing such things, but it is violent and terrible. Margaret gets out of his apartment, but he attacks her on the stairs, and she blacks out. For a lack of better audio description, she survived his attack and gets herself out of there. We see imagery of her laying lifeless. Again, lack of a better description, she's posed as if a doll. Daryl Hannah in Blade Runner. Margaret is an incredible person. This is beyond heartbreaking. I need to note that this might have happened at her place, I'm not sure, but that the UFO is seeing this with psychedelic lava eye. In the next scene, she is back at Adrian's, in her own space. But no one knows of this attack. She's looking into her mirror, her vanity. We have not seen her without makeup, and she is a fair-faced, fair-haired gal, early 20s. And she had a fashion show the night before, and left her friends twice to the attentions of sleazebags. So what the fuck? As she turns her attention from the mirror, we get an incredible shot of the city outside of her window, and on the roof we see the disc that is the UFO sitting next to some empty alcohol bottles. While Margaret was fighting off the predator and the UFO was looking on, we saw an older man, just older than these fun-loving hipsters, walk into a building, so I think she was attacked in her own place. I don't know, what the fuck? This old guy is actually interested in science and is smart. He has a telescope. We are shown that he now has it set up with some special modifications made by Paul in Arizona. Knock out the Y of the eye. Classic past episode. He is looking for the UFO. He may be seeing Margaret's apartment at this time, so our stories are quickly intersecting. Faster than most TMCMS podcast eps we cover. 22 minutes. The drug-using husband is at Adrian's, and he wants more junk. Adrian instructs this average Soho bozo, Joe, to go over there and to not move. She needs to get her stash. Margaret is looking flawless in her own space at the mirror. Looking for the fall-off? Kendrick Lamar. And this bitch is killing the vibe, talking intrusive to Margaret. Margaret has to say, I live here.
Are you her girlfriend?
Yo, this was the line that got me into this damn movie. I was like, who the fuck is this dickweed? Ha ha ha, super frustrating. I dislike when people approach me like this. In the Midwest, people are always asking, where do you live? Where do you live? What the fuck? She responds and educates us all, albeit we are in a mumblecore mode, with it being indie 80s VHS and lo-fi. And this guy is definitely like an amateur actor if he's an actor at all. She talks about her interest is not focused on whose gender she is attracted to. She doesn't have to share any of this with this married man, but she's giving him a smart runaround, as he was curious if she likes guys or girls. What a twit. She's curious in that those who make with labels of everyone's interest. And I see her perspective, and I do agree. What with I understand of her explanation Kind and or intelligent people can be attractive no matter their gender, no matter their income, or where they are from. I was stopping at a major grocery store and noticed baby food, infant food labeled Tex-Mex and Paella, and thought, I am no judge of diarrhea, but I don't need to label any baby food and has diarrhea. I don't have to be attracted to labels and or the shit they produce. Let's label this horse hubby as a jockey rather than a community leader. He rides for horse and is oblivious to anyone on his way to a one-sided winner's circle. We are awarded this wiener with a medal around his neck.
Congratulations to the genius that attacked Margaret late last night. You both lay in this rough. You are both in danger. Ours. You intended to label all of us, or you least so the ladies will love you. You should be labeled as abusive, so that the babies that you watch will douse you with bean juice, and the snakes you run with, bad for your health. Congratulations. You just played yourself. Wear this label as metal,
While my 82 chucks punt you where the baby food runs through you. Her defining line is she doesn't have to be interested in the genitals of the person to be attracted to them. He replies, obliviously and ignorant,
I don't want to fuck a man.
Okay, shithead, get away. No one asked you. And you are here for junk, professor, not a lecture. That's all the interaction with this jockey husband, this terrible husband, and Margaret, who was just sitting at her mirror just chilling. Her vanity. Margaret is in her pink sleepwear with a towel on her head. For Christ's sakes. He's a junkie. He can't get it up anyways. So this creep is hitting on Marge, and if this is a shopping mall browsing window, he's got Adrian serving him his shit, and he's browsing to see how he can cheat on his 80s housewife. But she may work a 9 to 5 and not be a housewife, just using that label to describe the broad strokes of some characters in this story. Ahem. He asks Adrian if he can use her works to drug up, and she upsells for $4 more. She doesn't want him sticking around, and Margaret makes the statement she doesn't want him around. Adrian has cut this doofus off, making claim to Margaret as a bee from Connecticut. This C word is used, as well as sort of empowering right in front of this dude. Adrian is like, I got a girlfriend, a cunt from Connecticut. I don't know, sometimes I think I'm writing songs or something. I got a girlfriend, a cunt from Connecticut. Who's better than that? She's got smoke in her eyes. I got a girlfriend who smacks from her eyes. This guy just drove us $4, that's enough for something hot. So go to put something on. You unable thought, I got a girlfriend that's better than that. Now everyone's getting involved. She's moving up, going right through my heart. We might not ever get caught. I got a girlfriend that's better than this, but you don't remember her at all. She's got a Connecticut cunt, and she's getting our kicks, taking a piss on every city John. And she's going everywhere, she's going wherever she likes. I got a girlfriend, and there she goes. They made $4, so they are going to breakfast. Adrian seems to be Marge's pimp, and Margaret is pushed off to put on clothes. Adrian, you know it takes this bitch 2 hours to get ready to go out somewhere. Yo, Adrian is pushing on Margaret, and what I found funny was like, hey, like Margaret wasn't even planning on going to breakfast. Like she was just chilling, and she's the one that sort of like worked last night. She had her major sort of dancing fashion show. She can chill for the day. And on top of pushing her out the door, Adrian's like downing on her for like taking some time to get ready. Sorry, Adrian, not everybody just puts on a headband, you know. The scene comically cuts to a UFO vision, that psychedelic, wavy, colorful vision. Our scientist is still on top of a tall building, and he has tracked the UFO in a target site on the screen within his special modded telescope. Thanks, Paul, who also is a junkie, perhaps. He's toxic. He develops good electronics. Paul from White of the Eye. Our telescope guy is Johan. Johanna wears a red jacket similar to our hipster hitman in Slam Dance. Johan is explaining aliens were spotted near areas with large amounts of heroin. Later, more were found in certain subcultures with amounts of heroin. Punk circles, circle jerks, and strange deaths occurred. 27 minutes into the movie, we get an explanation. Johan is talking to like a bookstore or antiquities shopkeeper who at this scene cut is about to use a projector screen. They're just speaking casually between the two of them, almost like a coffee table chat. When we return to Johan, the shopkeeper pulls up a projector roll-up screen and walks over to sit with Johan and mansplain that punks at Cambridge fought the mods with bike chains. Punks to him wouldn't need help killing punks off. They do it to themselves. Thanks, dumbass. Johan is like, you interrupted me. These killings take place during sexual intercourse. So we don't know what we're talking about here, and I was still so confused upon first watch. Let's take a break. I wanted to say that Johan has a Werner Herzog style of speaking, at least the way it's coming across to me. So he's actually saying something like, "You interrupted me. These killings take place during sexual intercourse. You interrupted me. These killings take place during sexual intercourse." It's just very, very scientific. Our punk circle is at brunch, with the anti-punk, anti-pop keyboard score is going off. Like, check the soundtrack. It's more just a score of only 1983 lo-fi could do. Everyone looks super hungover and unhappy, except Adrian, lol. Jimmy looks super handsome, and Margaret looks shower soft, and with Andy Warhol hair, she's not having it. Jimmy may be with his mom, and he is not able to visit for dinner because he has plans of meeting a photographer for a magazine. Jimmy has not had drugs yet that we've seen. He's just at a dinner table or whatever with his mother. Adrian, apple pie shit. Margaret tells us that her mother would make like 5 pies at a time, and they would cool on the porch. After playing, she would see the pies, and they were not allowed to have any until after dinner. Adrian is like, she must be an angel. Apple pie. Adrian has a childhood and a mother on her own. She tells Margaret about her memory of seeing her addict mom leaving the hospital, looking put together. She was cool, she was great, and she is leaving. And she dates a straight guy who has taken her to a fancy restaurant. And during the meal, her mother gets onto the balcony. Man, she pulls her skirt and says, "I'm Jesus Christ, man, and I baptize you." And she pissed on everybody. Can you beat that? Adrian got up from the booth they're sitting at with breakfast and is now settling back down. I think we see why this actress was popular at the time. She has a bright smile, and her look without the headband is American Girl. Her face has lit up, telling Margaret her memory. Margaret, and then what happened? Adrian, then they threw her back in. 29:31. Jimmy looks super pissed off. He is across from his mom at a contrasting restaurant to Adrian and Margaret. And the waiter is setting their plates up, as his mom explains that 6 months ago at her studio, the last time Jimmy visited, her friends mentioned, "Is that your brother?" Jimmy adds, "You're my sister, Mom." What? I don't know. This is just what's going on. Johan is still talking antiques and is shutting blinds, and the shady shop he's sitting at. Documentation of our progress. Why this guy, he asks. Slides of sexual intercourse? I question mark. A cut here, back to Jimmy and Mama. She's saying, "They're gorgeous," and Jimmy blurts, "Hey, can I have some money?" She has to be going. She will send him a check. Jimmy really needs it. And his mom asks about a lift uptown. Jimmy is going, down, down, down. Back to Johann. That's not funny. We have not located the UFO, but we have photographed the creature inside the craft and made an attempt to codify its various emotional stats. A flash of an image of what could be the iris of an eye and a nebulous blob in its center, with vein-like lightning strokes extending outward. Again with the psychedelic transitional effects. This one is also well done, and these are resourceful effects and well placed for an indie feature, etc. Adrian persuades Margaret to move to Germany with her. Baby, they love me in Berlin. I could be a big star. This is great because I like her rhythm box track. I will buy you coke and a silver fox for your beautiful neck. Why has Anthony never said such a thing to Rachel? Adrian, out of the green or we'll do great? Margaret, do you think it will be different? Adrian asks. Taking Owen up to our place? Margaret, yeah, well, I don't want to go up there. This conversation has split into two. Adrian, I don't like Owen, baby. I don't want to see Owen. Back to Johann. What is your schedule like? Because Johann is not from this country, he is unable to study certain things. He was on the Empire State Building, but at night the UFO is closed up and on private property. Destination, satellite, destination, satellite, check, 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 destination, satellite, destination, satellite, check, check, check. Adrian and Margaret's turf, which we will shortly find out, people are just popping in, and Johann could do the same, but he is a logical person wanting to help, so of course he's wanting permissions or more familiar terms, so why not ask? A dirtball, acquaintance-like, this shithead antique dealer? 32 minutes. I think I'm describing some people that we're seeing pop into their place, especially the hubby being there to pick up junk. Why doesn't Johann just go on over and check out what's going on with this UFO? He has been regular person. He wants to help, but he doesn't understand and informs us he is just a college acting teacher. He has an apartment and wants to continue tomorrow. This is fun because Johann is determined and pleads, "You are not the only person I know in New York, and this alien is killing people." We get authentic New York City street traffic, and actually I think what I'm describing here is the conversation between him and this guy who says he's just a college acting teacher, which he is. He shows up in a later scene, which it took me this process of note making to understand that guy is the same guy. And here he's like, I can barely help you, man. I'm just an acting teacher. And he's like, come on, this UFO is killing people. But it's also just it's a lull in the scenes. And, you know, Johann is not as hip as these other people, so it's not as exciting to watch these two. They basically both look like New York City community college acting teachers. So it's not that exciting of a scene, but it took me a long time to understand who Johann is talking to. And showing this presentation, which is just an excuse to give us exposition. We get authentic NYC street traffic and the annoying organ score, but we get a shot of the UFO on the edge of the roof in daylight, and either Anthony or Slava is twisting those knobs. Telephony tomorrow, keep in touch. So this guy looks like the next guy we see breaking up weed on a table under the UFO on Margaret's patio. He is choppy talking about, "You've been such a self-destructive since leaving me. Adrian is a real bad influence." Margaret is dressed like an influencer or average EDM participant, such a broad description, doing the best. She is in street trendy as of 2013 to 2023, a patchwork miniskirt, a red bra top. She has a red corset-like element across her top, and she has her hairstyle a short blonde with like a flapper feather. I'm serious, she's got some feathers in her hair. Also red fishnets, flapper feather, also red fishnets, and Chucky boots. But she gets cropped a bunch, so we don't see her at her fullest much, and her hair is that red on the edges. Or actually, is her hair that red on the edges? Framing our screen is our city around us, the bricks of her building raised up against the patio, and a colorful window pane is also framing. The table is centered, and this gray-haired dirtball is getting the shake out of his ganja bag. And this is the college acting teacher who now was talking to Johan and is now talking to Margaret, who is dressed as stylish as Cher and Clueless. He continues to talk. He is not at all interesting. He's rolling a joint, and Margaret is mentioning she's focused on her career. Adrian is a bad influence for her to be around. She brings up vocabulary, shit, and fuck. Should I say making love instead of fucking? Johan is on street level. He goes into a building, I think across from their apartment. Margaret adds a black leather jacket. This gray guy, his vocabulary, thinks she looks like a hooker, and she could end up in the hospital with the same horrible sexual disease, which could be HIV at the time. Margaret argues back. You like the way I look. Why should I dress any different and hide lies? You want a sweet housewife, slave of her husband? Let some audio space hold that thought. She's independent, and it's only fair I warn her. Johan's, this pussy, has teeth. At the note, Anne Carlisle is giving Patricia Arquette. Gray, you were my best student. I invested a lot of time in you. Margaret, we spent most of our time in bed. Old gray guy gets up, all the babes sluts rule. Chong drools. The UFO eye opens. Margaret is up again, putting on a feathery skirt or drape, and asks if he likes this professor. Jeans and a turtleneck. Margaret, yes, professor. Put the paperbacks down. Another doppelganger is our next female who is going into her building. This may be Jimmy's mom's? I don't get it. She looks as much like Mama as Gray Guy looks like Gray Guy. In his red jacket, Johan is in the building across from Adrian. As the woman sees him in the entrance, he explains he's a scientist, and she treats him as a fur inspector, available and handsome. She volunteers. I installed my fire extinguisher, and all my exits are accessible. I'm serious. Hello, nurse. Ha ha ha. His question was, which direction are the windows of this building facing? Windows have something to do with my research. He is astrophysicist researching a phenomenon. He is from Berlin and shows her an ID. His accent is thick, but he is charming, and he is a good actor. So identification is like a rush of water over the screenplay. Identification. She asks him to come in for dinner. She has a free evening, and I am putting this together as Jimmy's mama. Is this Uptown? NYC listeners, help us by mapping this movie out for us and put it on a shower curtain, would you please? Clip is possible at 3554 to 3604. YouTube speed 115. Margaret puts her jacket on and keeps the collar around her mouth. Her face paint makeup is almost Native American markings, white marks over red accent strokes, and an accent around her neck. Place of her collarbone looks like a Nike symbol. Her hair looks savage. Gray says her costumes are phony theater. I don't like his perspective. Margaret is perfectly fine, and I don't know, I think so many NYC people looked like her. Is this guy coming from Pennsylvania? Get a grip. She has on pink leggings. And on purple, I don't know, platform shoes. On her skirt remains the loudest, and she puts on a pink bowling league shirt, on fit for a slim fit, and she is standing on the table. She has a cute butt. It's like a picnic table on this patio. Margaret is having to clarify with a full statement about this hypocritical costume of blue jeans against his professor's three-piece suit. And is that reference to the gin gap Margaret's gin was experiencing of the boomers dressing down to the 250 years men had worn a suit and hat everywhere? He too was in costume, unaware. You thought your jeans stood for love, freedom, and sexual equality? We at least know we're in costume. Rock on, Margaret. Rock on. Love, peace, and shit. This woman's apartment is cooler than Adrian's frat shack. Our new friend has a sparse selections of art and lines of sculpture, a modest couch to one side, and a wooden antique chair on the other, with a piano and metronome. Much more contemporary designs than the one Anthony blew smoke into. Over the couch and near the doorway are 3 different pieces of abstract art, possible all collage based. Back at Adrian's, Margaret is taking the reflective sheet that was on the table inside the main room of their apartment. The camera was zoomed and focused on the porcelain face mask, which is also allowing Margaret to be centered and focused on. The mask we can see in the daylight has frames of neon, and the graffiti painted mural is zooming outward with strokes and color. Old Gray Professor Antiques is acting more like BF than JOHN, and compliments their legs, Margaret with a zinger, "I thought I was gonna give you disease." Way to go, Margaret, way to go! The astrophysicist Johann is in Jimmy's mom's apartment. The window is bright, and more art is all around the room. And with the 80s film transfer, it's not distracting art. I can barely make out subject matter and parts, if any. The set is decoed with these pieces as colors, with of the same time as Wonder Bread balloons, red, yellow, blue. Like this sort of classic, just simple colors of red, yellow, blue from the Wonder Bread graphic scheme, which was present in the early 80s. Johann, this window is perfect. I don't know her name, but she says, "I'm ordering Chinese. This dude is super lucky. Takeout food from 80s NYC is the way to my heart. Or heart disease, guys. Cut down on fast food and salt, ha ha ha." Johann is behaving himself and welcomed. Margaret has this gray guy wrapped around her, and he may be groping her. She defends with a statement, "You have no right to do that. I am not your possession." Hold for audio space. The UFO's vision looks vaginal and strikes electrical lightning effect. As Margaret's top is taken off, she's wearing a plastic green pearled necklace. It's so simple, isn't it? Well, you can't have me. You don't want to have me, and I want to make love to you. Fuck. Shit.
Heroin.